All right, so we'll start in about a minute, but I just wanted to welcome everybody to the call or to our webinar today titled ITS Done Differently. We have two great presentations, one from Ministry of Transportation of Ontario and IBI Group called 511 Traveler Information in Ontario, and then the second from Iowa DOT with the Message Monday program. So we'll start in just 1 minute. And while we're waiting, I will launch a quick poll.
Just so you know, Omar, I feel like the guy that's trying to open the door and it says push. Because I clicked on that button not more than 100 times and then I read
Oh, really? Oh, gee. Oh, let's hope that that's not a preview to what's to come. All right, so let's get started here. As I said, we have two great presentations. What I'm going to do, let me here move to my second slide. So on behalf of Judy Yu, who's chair of the ATIS committee, and myself, I would like to welcome everybody to our call today. ITS Canada, we view ourselves as the hub for mobility technologies, and we have four great technical committees. This one, which is on traveler information, but we also have the transportation management, public transit, and connected and autonomous vehicles, of which one of the subcommittees on that is on electric automated shuttles. So we certainly welcome any of you to be able to join ITS Canada, as well as join and follow any of our technical committees. On the ATIS Technical Committee side of things, we really have four main points of focus. One is to share information, provide advocacy, technical information exchange, and help to educate and provide information to everybody who's interested in this area. I know certainly with COVID and not being able to travel and go to conferences and meet with people, I feel like I'm sort of a little bit disconnected to what exactly is going on out there in the world. And so having the opportunity of having these webinars and to be able to exchange information with people is certainly very important. We also coordinate and work with the other technical committees to make sure that if there's cross references and or activities that flow across the two committees, multiple committees, that we can join them together. And we really want to engage our community. So if you have ideas on topics for presentation and so forth, I welcome you to follow up and reach out to either Judy, myself, or just directly through to ITS Canada. And we will look to see about trying to continue a great program that we have here today. So to get started, we'll first hear from Kathleen McCollum, strategic advisor from MTO. Along with her is joining her is Geoff Carter, director at IBI Group, and John Darton from IBI Group. And today they're going to be talking about 511 traveler information in Ontario. I know that traveler information, the types of information that agencies provide, and the target audience is constantly evolving, especially in these unprecedented times. With the quick onset of COVID-19 in Ontario, the ministry took an important step to support truck drivers in their efforts to keep goods moving and delivery of essential supplies such as PPE. And then within 1 month, the ministry was able to develop and deploy an app that provided information hands-free to truckers with regards to open and close status of welcome centers or service centers, parking availability, and other services that are available as they approach the center. So with that, I will welcome and turn it over to Kathleen. So Kathleen, you should have now control. Perfect. Take it away.
Thank you for the opportunity to share our experience and success with developing the 511 app. Some of the key takeaways we hope you'll walk away from this session with include how we navigated mobile app development within the Ontario government, keys to working successfully with a software as a service partner, how and who to engage quickly to advance product development, benefits of a balanced cross-functional team, the importance of strong digital leadership, and why we moved to product management. So let's take a look at the Traveler Communications product line. The ultimate goal of this line of products is to inform travelers of events and conditions which could impact their travel on provincial highways. It would be easy to see all of these as independent products. However, there are large gains to be made when we consider them as one complete product line. Some of the gains include consistent data sets, shared support and product teams, and alignment in overall strategic goal. The product line was initially kicked off with the launch of the integrated voice recognition product. The service allows users to dial 511 on their phone and get information about events and conditions impacting the highways. Supporting the highway network are a series of over 400 message signs. The website was launched back in 1998 to support the telephone service and recently underwent a modernization. The modernization was based on extensive public user engagement, was delivered following Ontario government's digital service standard, and was deployed by a cross-functional co-located team. The website modernization moved the product from in-house delivery to a current SaaS delivery model. In 2013, Ontario 511 Twitter accounts were created, and we're happy to say that we are one of the most popular Twitter accounts within the Ontario government, with over 105,000 followers. And most recently, the ministry has added a mobile app to provide access to key information for the public and truck drivers. Our app has over 14,000 downloads, and when I checked this morning, it had a 4.6 out of 5 rating in the Apple App Store. When COVID impacted Ontario, many businesses shut down in an effort to slow the spread of the virus. Unfortunately, these widespread closures created challenges for the trucking industry. Drivers needed better access to information on where they could safely stop, rest, eat, and have access to clean washroom facilities while moving essential goods throughout the province. Hearing from the trucking industry, the Ontario government committed to supporting truck drivers, providing additional online information around access to necessities. The Minister of Transportation asked the team to develop information specific to truck drivers and develop a bilingual app to make accessing this information as easy as possible. As with building any product, there were some asks and realities that the team had to get alignment on. The ask was to develop a mobile app as quickly as possible. However, the reality was that the ministry had limited experience with developing and launching a mobile app. We were asked to ensure the app was made in English and French. However, our SaaS vendor did not currently run a bilingual 511 app. One of the other asks was to build a truck rest area layer, which is something we currently didn't have on the 511 website and was more challenging as the data set was not owned by one user, but several areas throughout the province. One of our biggest challenge was overcoming the new COVID communications approval process. With the onset of COVID, a new process internally was established, and navigating this made it more difficult for us to plan the timing and seek approvals to launch the mobile app. Additionally, launching an accessible mobile app was a challenge as it was something that the government was not an expert in at the time, and accessibility requirements for a mobile app exceed our standard WCAG 2.0 AA requirements. So how did we answer the call? In order to answer the call, we quickly assembled a cross-functional, self-directed team with the goal of providing new data and functionality to the web, as well as building and deploying a mobile app, like you said, in under a month. This product was developed by a truly cross-functional team, including a product owner, product manager, user experience designers, vendor relations, communications experts, and technical subject matter experts. Each member of the team provided their support and leaded activities in their particular field, co-creating and co-designing a product, always moving towards the same common goal of supporting the trucking industry throughout COVID. Nothing we delivered could have been done without the focus, dedication, and flexibility of our partner IBI Group. IBI has developed similar mobile apps in other jurisdictions like New York, Florida, and Alberta, and they brought their experience with deploying these similar products and solutions to our team. It was important to seek their advice and guidance throughout the product development, and at the same time articulate our own business needs as clearly as possible. IBI's expertise with the app stores and understanding how they function allowed us to correctly plan and launch the new app. With their support, we were able to balance the need to confirm dates and announce the product while not being in control of how long things take on the app sides. In addition, their expertise in launching apps, the partnership with IBI will allow us to continue to stay up to date with the App Store requirements and changes with device updates. Having a strong vendor manager on the business side was also key to our relationship with IBI Group. Having a single point of contact for our vendor was a change we made quickly at the beginning of the project to help avoid any miscommunications and ensure we were all on the same page. Working with a strong partner, IBI Group was key to the success with our product delivery. Collectively, the team worked at an incredible pace, and we've stopped to reflect on what we've accomplished and the magnitude of the impact. This has allowed us to all keep focused and want to continue to deliver more and better products to the public. Not only did we have a strong cross-functional team, our team had support all the way throughout the organization. Our executive sponsor for the product is the ministry's Chief Information Officer, and we also had the support of 2 senior managers who helped lead the development, as well as myself as the business and vendor manager lead, and an additional staff member who acted as the product manager. Daily communication up through the organization and back down to our team was critical to ensure that decisions were made quickly and were conveyed to us so we could discuss during our daily meetings and plan our approach. Understanding who needs to be involved and engaged for your project is key. You cannot underestimate the importance of ongoing, extensive internal and external consultation to design, create a digital project. Some of the stakeholders involved in our mobile app development included various internal Ministry of Regional staff, as well as other OPS staff, including our corporate and IT procurement, and FOI and privacy experts. We also engaged external stakeholders, such as the Ontario Trucking Association. Mapping out our stakeholders and involving them early to understand their role and level of involvement was key in the speed of the delivery of our product. The Ontario 511 product line has evolved over the years and has always been focused on designing services for and about the end user. Throughout this journey, our team continues to consist of a cross-functional team of experts who are given the space to be self-organized and self-directed, including being allowed to pivot and engage with other members of the team as required. Today, our team works together on ongoing user engagement, strategic planning related to features and offers, and continues to meet regularly to maintain the integrated cross-functional team. Moving to a product management has improved our overall product that we provide to the public. User engagement has been a cornerstone of our product's evolution. We solicited users and testers, developed a minimal viable product for the website, sent this to a public test group, reiterated based on their feedback, released a new website to the same group, and reiterated again before releasing the final version of the website to the public. In addition, before launching the new Ontario 511 app, to the trucking sector, we shared the product with key industry leaders to ensure that they felt comfortable and we were meeting the needs. Although immediate asks have been met, the Ontario 511 product team continues to evolve the product line in order to provide the best services possible to users. This includes continuing to conduct our user research so we can learn what our users need from each of the products and plan for future releases. Our user research activities right now include one-on-one interview sessions, usability testing, A/B design testing, and more. To date, we have completed 7 interviews and 8 usability testing sessions for the new Ontario 511 app to help us determine improvements for the future. I'd also like to direct you guys to visit our website and register yourself to participate in the user engagement. We're interested in connecting with people who use the services, who have used it in the past and have stopped, or those who can just provide better ideas of how we can best meet users' needs. Shifting our internal ministry culture between old and new ways of working was needed to accomplish a faster product development. Usually we're used to project management and setting timelines, but we had to shift to be more flexible and engage people early on. One of the things we learned was that we need to map out stakeholders and engage early. Understanding the process entirely before committing to timelines and making sure those stakeholders are part of it, but being ready to adapt and be flexible should we learn of new stakeholders or want to engage further to ensure our product will meet their needs. Defining the rules of engagement with our sponsors and team to ensure communications are shared up the line and down the line appropriately. And leveraging all the talents and seeking outside expertise, such as that of IBI, to ensure that our product can be delivered and meet the needs of the public. So what's next for the Ontario 511 product line? In line with managing traveler communications of a product, we continue to collect and analyze user engagement to inform products and improve how information is available through the product line. We will also be conducting deeper dives into our social media and IBI offering to gain a better understanding of how users interact with the products and how we can best meet their needs. So the app, which was recently launched and was updated, I believe, today to include winter information, is available for download on the Apple and Google Play stores, and we encourage you guys to check it out. I'll now pass it over to Jonathan to talk to some of the key highlights of the app.
Oh, Jonathan, we can't hear you.
Hello?
Yep, there you go, Jonathan.
Okay, sorry about that. Not sure what happened there. So we've got a couple slides here with screenshots that I'll run through quickly. It just provides a quick overview of some of the recently deployed enhancements. To start off, the app is essentially an extension of the 511 website, which includes full integration and access to personalized content. For example, you can log in with your Ontario 511 account details and access content such as your favorite cameras and routes, avoiding the need to have to drill down and search for the information that you access frequently. There's additional content filtering, including trucker and public driver modes. That's used to determine the layer content that's presented to the user, as well as the type of audio notifications that are generated while using the app. And as Kathleen mentioned, content's available in both English and French, which includes the audio announcements. You can jump to the next slide. So Kathleen mentioned the primary focus of deploying the app was to focus on sharing information specifically for truck drivers. And in order to accomplish this, as I mentioned, there's a mode within the app which you can toggle between both trucker and public drive modes. When you are in the trucker drive mode specifically, you can access information like truck rest area details, as well as seasonal load restriction information. And in this screenshot, you can see details that are provided for a truck rest area, which includes details like whether or not truck parking is available, status. You can even see there's comments for this specific location about the availability of sanitizer and soap, which is definitely relevant these days during the pandemic. Jump to the next one. Also in preparation for the winter season, we enabled layers for road conditions. So road conditions, your typical segment data, which you can select to see the current driving conditions, as well as a layer for snow plows, which is based on AVL data with breadcrumbs. So you can see the alignment of the plows with your current location, as well as the breadcrumb helps you to determine, how recently the roads in your area or the route that you may have planned may have been maintained. Next one. Another enhancement, we've just recently added a layer for weather alerts. This data comes directly from Environment Canada. All the information is provided through the map interface, and based on your proximity, the app will also generate audio notifications. So if you're approaching an area with a new weather alert, the app would announce that information to you in both English and French. So that's a quick overview of some of the most recent enhancements and updates. As Kathleen mentioned, user engagement is important to ensure the features align with user needs and actually provide value. So on that note, we'd encourage everyone to check it out, and we'd welcome any feedback that you may have at any point. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kathleen and Jonathan. That was really great. I mean, I think the stats, Kathleen, that you had shown, 20 million page views a year, 105,000 Twitter followers, really actually illustrates how important and how much interest there is for individuals to be able to have and get traveler information. And I'm sure now as we approach into the winter season, it's going to be actually that much more. So what I'm going to do, while I'm going to switch over and just ask one other poll question. And while I do that, I'm going to introduce our next pair of speakers. Iowa DOT has long been an innovator in the traveler information and the winter road condition area. My working with them goes back basically back into 24 years now. And with that work, I've actually had the opportunity of knowing Willie Sorensen, one of our speakers today, for quite a number of those years. And back in 2013, Iowa DOT was planning an information campaign about traffic fatalities, but they knew that static, dry messages weren't really something that would actually help to change safety culture. So they came up with an interesting concept, and I don't think one would ever think that DMS messages would really go viral, and viral not in the sense of COVID-19, but on social media and to generate news media coverage. And now those messages and that program that they have is now being shared across 30 different agencies across the US. And now with 7 years under their belt, we're happy to invite Willie Sorensen and Tracy Bramble from Iowa DOT to present about their Message Mondays program and to talk about what's next. So let me close the poll, and I will provide you, Willie, with the control.
Okay, I think I just accepted it. I'm going to, if you see the, I'm clicking presentation mode. I hope. Okay.
No,
so hopefully
so
you see.
No, we're not seeing. Oh, you got to switch your displays again.
Okay, we'll do swap.
There you go.
Okay, so you see me talking into a microphone in front of a staircase?
You look remarkably great, Willie. That's exactly the way I remember you back from 20 years ago.
Exactly. Thank you. Whew. I was worried that my web camera was on or something. So, all right. So, thank you very much for the intro. Tracy and Tracy, can I hear you? Make sure you're on.
I'm muted.
Well, I hear you. If that's good.
Okay. My panel says I'm muted. Omar, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So I think if you're dialed in through the phone, the computer version is muted, but your phone version is not.
Gotcha. All righty. Take it away, Willie.
Cool. So, all right. Well, so we put together this presentation a couple months ago. It was because we did it in pre-COVID when we actually saw each other in person. They asked me to do a presentation in front of all of the Iowa DOT supervisors and managers as an example of getting outside of our comfort zone and doing something risky. And really the theme of the whole conference was, get out of your comfort zone. And so this particular presentation, and we customized it and updated it for today, but it is really meant to make you think about getting outside of your box, and engineers love to be in the box, and the box is safe, right? But as soon as you work outside the box, you can actually, the good thing is good things can happen, right? And so that's what we're going to do today is our experience with this. And so starring this little role of risky business is going to be myself, and then Tracy Bramble. If you can't tell which one is which, she's the good looking one on the right, obviously. And Tracy and I, we're kind of like the co-authors, if you will. We're the first level of coming up with messages and taking the first cut of putting 6 months worth of messages together at a time. And just recently, Tracy and I got together, and we've crafted our messages all the way out till July of next year. And so then our next step is to go with the rest of the cast members of our little risky business. And the first one is Steve Gent. Steve, I love these meetings. Gent, he's my boss, but every time we get together, it's going to be 6 of us. He just loves having these meetings because we have a lot of fun during these meetings where we talk about these next 6 months, and we change messages and we adjust them and stuff. But so Steve is our number 1 cast member. Number 2 cast member is Andrea, which I like to say that she's the chairwoman of the cat herding committee, because there's a lot of different thoughts going around. She's Tracy's immediate boss, and she kind of makes us make sure we're talking about the same thing, keeps us honed in so that our meetings don't last 8 hours, they only last like 4. And then for the third cast member, or additional cast, is Jan Laser Webb. Jan is love. She is our part of our committee that is the fact checker and the politically correctness. She is our, if we can get a message past Jan, the litmus test of is it politically correct or not, we know we're fairly okay. And so it's good to have her on the team. And last but not least is our state traffic engineer, Tim, Mr. MUTCD Crouch. And that's, you know, Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. I know Canada has a similar effort, but Tim is the guy that, he is an engineer. And so he is the one that makes sure that our messages, you know, are fit what the MUTCD allows. And this constantly is he, you know, there's many times he can override, you know, even a 5-to-1 vote. You know, if he has a good point, we'll let him override and win and not let us put a message. So kind of how did this all started? Well, back in 2013, the fatality count on dynamic message signs was starting to get kicked off across the states. Texas was doing it. Tennessee was doing it. A couple of other states were doing it, but they were only doing it, the fatality number, and they were doing it constantly, 24/7, every day of the week. And our director, Paul Trombino at the time, he liked it. He went to an ASHTO meeting and he said, that's a good idea. And then he came back to us and he says, hey, traffic and safety, you guys, you do these messages things. I want to do this, but give me your thoughts on it. And luckily, Paul was a nice enough director that we felt comfortable in telling him, no, we don't want to do this. The last thing we want to do is put a fatality message on a dynamic message sign 24 hours out of the day, 365 days of the year. People are going to ignore it. I mean, just think long term that you're going to ignore that. So no, Paul, we're not going to do it. So he said, great, thanks. Hey, great input. Yeah, but I like it. Willie and Steve and Tim, I still like it. So find out what other states are doing. And so then I called Texas and Tennessee and 2 or 3 other states and saw what they were doing. It really didn't change our mind. So we went back to the director and he said, no, we're not going to do it. We don't want to do it. Thanks for asking us for our opinion, but we're not going to do it. So then he kind of said, well, thanks for your work. Thanks for everything you do, but we're going to do it. But the only thing is I'm going to let you guys and gals create the program, but we're going to do it. So think of something, think of how to do it, and then come back with me with a plan, and we'll proceed from there. So we just knew we were stuck. We were going to do it. And so we decided to put together this idea. And it was actually, I was showering one day because I'm like, oh crap, I got to present a plan that I don't want to do. I mean, isn't that the worst case scenario? And so somehow I thought of branding. If we brand this as Message Monday, right there, we're going to tell our director, we're only going to do this 1 day a week. So he told us we're going to do it, but he didn't say how many days of the week to do it. So right there, if we call it Message Monday, boom, we for sure got him down to 1 day a week. And then if we pair it with a safety message, it won't be as boring. You know, it'll be a fatality message and a safety message together. And that was actually my local federal highways idea. So I'm going to blame Federal Highway, the United States Federal Highway with this. But they gave me the idea that we should pair it with a safety message. You know, he was like, you should do the fatality number with a click it or ticket, you know, or seatbelt saves lives message, something like that, Willie. I go, I like the something like that. So then number 2 is don't repeat the message. So we went to the director. We're going to do the fatality count. We're going to pair it. We're going to not repeat the message. We're going to kick the boring ideas to the curb. Not doing it. We're not going to wear our welcome. Again, 1 day a week. And yeah, it still needs to be transportation safety related. So right there, that's the secret sauce, is these 5 general ideas for the program. And we presented it to Paul, and we were right there and got it. So Tracy, I think this is yours.
Yep. So the way this program works for us is, like Willie said, he and I get together once every 6 months for several hours, lock ourselves in a room with a bag full of chocolate, and come up with ideas for each week, each Monday. And we work off of calendars for from NHTSA, our National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, for public events, what's going on in the world, what movies are coming out, what pop culture things can we tick off of to come up with these safety messages so they resonate. Willie, you know, on the engineering side, has the technical part of it, and I'm the communications person, but I still think sometimes Willie's more creative than I am. But then once we get our group of 6 months worth of messages, like Willie said, we get together our whole team, our group of 6, and go through each message and do some wordsmithing and some picking and nitpicking of the messages so we get the best possible impact out of each message. And then it all goes through the chain for the DOT director, and we have had very few kickbacks. But we didn't push the envelope right off the bat. We were a little bit hesitant to get too snarky, I guess. So the first 6 months, you know, we had that fatality number. Remember, this is a 2-panel, 2-phase sign. So we have the fatality count, and then these were some of our first messages. And if you notice down to the lower right, the Zero Fatalities logo on there, we actually launched Zero Fatalities a little bit after the messages had launched. And so it was a really nice wrap in to bring our Message Monday into that Zero Fatalities program to help us drive down fatalities in the state. And we knew that we had something about 6 months in. We started getting a little bit more creative, and when our middle managers didn't like it, we knew we were onto something. And really, they did think they were going to give us enough rope to hang ourselves, and I don't think they realized the viral nature of what we were doing.
So it got real when we interjected Mom and Santa into the mix of our messages. And so this was one of the messages. Your mom called, are you buckled?
This was for Mother's Day.
Right before Christmas, we had our Santa message. Santa's coming, have you been a good driver? Well, these are the actual when we did it. But when we proposed it to management, this was the email we got from my direct supervisor. And I have blacked out the names to protect the guilty. But it says, Willie, I updated, boom. And he knows that Andrea and you guys still want to do the Santa and message, forward, and we'll forward it to Paul. He and I both questioned these 2 messages. So that's the key word that this person told me. Watch what you're doing, Willie. But anyway, so, you know, we took this threat from our immediate manager, and we read it, and we acknowledged it, but we said, you know what, we got something here. We need to send it on. We want to send it on to the director, Paul. If he says no, we'll acknowledge that you kind of told us so, but let us do this. And so that manager sent this on, and Paul Trombino, the director, within about 5 minutes, and for a director to respond to an email in about 5 minutes is pretty good, but he responded, and with the highlight, he says, another in the last page, couple of my favorites are your mom called, are you buckled, and Santa's coming, have you been a good driver? So right there, wabot, bam, in your face, booyah, middle management, you're out of the loop, get away. Stand aside. So right there, we knew, game on, we were on to something, and let's push that envelope. Let's get outside the box. So Tracy, I think this one's yours. No, maybe I still.
Yes.
Still
you
so
go ahead.
The next layer of secret sauce is, so we got the right team together, we got the right management together, we got middle management out of the way. Okay, how to do this? So how to do these messages? We wanted, number one, the ability to change, and right off the bat, we need to be able to. I
hate, by the way.
What's that? Oh yeah, Tracy hates change. Every time, so I tell her, or I kind of do a graphic on Friday, but if I want to change the message, I need to really tell her about 2 or 3, 4 weeks ahead of time. then she's not as mad as when I tell her like the Thursday or Wednesday before. Then she gets really mad. But she's a good player.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, there's a lot, because there's a lot of behind the scenes that we all do. Tracy does because of the blog. We'll talk about that later. But be able to change because sometimes, you know, there's a popular movie that's going to come out that we didn't really, we forgot about or we didn't know about. So we want to take advantage of that. On this particular one, you know, the COVID stuff, and actually people were flying through Iowa instead of a flyover state, they were driving through Iowa at over 100 miles an hour a lot. And so we kind of changed up our messages. And it's fun to interject a little pop culture into our messages, like our Shaggy and the Scooby-Doo gang and the Mystery Machine. This is a message we just went up last week because of the number of deer that get hit in Iowa. Always love to have a deer message. Holiday themes. If my aunt actually did not know what this meant, and I had to explain it to her, and I just felt, oh my word, you're the one person that didn't get this. Everybody else gets it. Pet peeves is another awesome secret sauce. Is if we can, anytime about using your blinker or left lane driving, or you know, things like that are pet peeves with drivers. When we hit on that, we get a lot of positive comments from out in the public. And then lastly, another one of our secret sauce is using that earworm or getting inside your head with one of our messages, and you know, have it a little play on safety with a little jingle that's in your mind. So we do run the risk of sometimes being too governmental or too non-governmental. You know, there's a risk there, and we pushed the envelope, and we got this one. We did this one. Both cars and people can be recalled by their maker, and you know, it passed the litmus test within the 6 of us, and so we were okay in doing it. We knew we were edgy, but then we got, I don't know, 4 or 5 different comments on this one, and one of the ones that I remember seeing was basically, and I looked her up on Facebook when she called me, but she said the separation of church and state includes them signs and take it down. And so we didn't take it down, or actually I called her back and I calmed her down and I said, hey, I thank you for your comments. We acknowledge this. And as you know, kind of a compromise, we will take it down at midnight, and I promise we'll never do it again. How about that? And I didn't say we were going to give it to other states and let them do it, but I at least got her calmed down. So we won't be doing that one again. All right, I think, though, then my last one for me, and then Tracy will take over here, is one of the risks is offending family members. And it's a real thing. And although it has turned out not to be, it's a real initial worry, but it wasn't a reality worry. And the reason, like Omar said, in 7.5 years doing this, we've literally had, unfortunately, 2,468 people that have died under this program. And from that, we don't hear any comments from the immediate family. If anything, we hear comments. If somebody complains about this, it's actually from a friend of a friend that lost somebody, or just the assumption that it would be offending to somebody. But I actually had a family or a friend when I was talking to her one day, and she's talking about the signs and how she loves the messages, and then she gave me this story that her brother was killed about 15 years ago, and you know, and you know, 15 years is a long time past, and she obviously doesn't forget her brother, but there's times where life happens and the memory of her brother fades away. But she told me that, she said, Willie, for the 12 seconds that I drive underneath that sign and it says a fatality count, number one, I'm laughing my ass off, and usually whatever you're saying, but number two, I'm remembering Jimmy, because that message resonates directly with me. And I had forgot about Jimmy earlier, you know, this week or that day, but this reminded me of him, and it was in a good way. Yes, he's not here, but thank you for giving me that opportunity. And man, I about broke down and cried when she told me that, and it gave me some validation to what we're doing is good. And one of the other things is we hear people say that we really don't want another family member to be hurt. And so a lot of families are saying, you know what, yeah, this program makes sense, and if another family could not be hurt because of this, then go ahead and do it. All right. Tracy, a risk about what if the public doesn't get it?
Yeah, right. So Willie and I have unique senses of humor, and some of our messages, even within our group, we've got some head scratching going on. So what we do to backfill a little bit of that, we do promote all of the messages on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, and we've got 19,000 following on Facebook and about 40,000 on Twitter. And then we also have a blog that has about 10,000 subscribers that we give that backstory. And so if you didn't know that I am a grandma, these are 3 of my 5 little ones. And we play I Spy with My Little Eye when we're in the car. And so that's where this message came from. So if you read the blog, now we've got enough people interested in finding out what the backstory to that message is, that they will log on either through Facebook, Twitter, or subscribing to the blog to see what we actually meant by, or what our thinking was behind this message. We usually try to throw in there a link to a video or a news story or something that relates. And then we also tell everybody how many, related to the fatality count this Monday, how many we have gained or lost, as it were, from last Monday on that blog. Go ahead, Willie.
Yep. So another risk that we encounter every time we do this is, what if we offend different groups of people? Okay. And so in general, and I actually, this was as of this summer, so the numbers aren't exactly right, but 6 out of the 316 messages that we had done earlier, we got it right. Nobody complained, but we did get 6 particular messages stand out in my mind that we pushed the envelope a little too far and we offended some groups. And these are, in no particular order: lost but not forgotten. I had no idea, but that particular, for at least a fireman, a local fireman from a local department called us up. Actually, as a DOT employee said, it says, hey, that is reserved for firemen only and 9/11 victims. You should not be using that for victims of the highway. And I go, I did not know that. Number 2, crashes don't kill teens, but bad choices do. I remember 4 young mothers that have young children. They aren't teenagers, but 4 women independently called me up and said that their teens would never do anything bad. And so I said, okay, I got teens, but okay. And then I actually had some good statistics on this one, where unfortunately the year before that we had 36 teens that were killed, and 34 of them, I looked at every single crash report and we kind of narrowed it down, bad choice or not a bad choice. And indeed 34 of them was a bad choice. Different circumstances, choosing to ride with a drunk driver or a drunk other driver, choosing to text, choosing to not wear your seatbelt. Now, what I really thought was funny and loved it was this: don't drive distracted, squirrel. I loved that message, and I loved it right up until the moment where an autistic person emailed me and says, Willie, every time I see something like that, it just hits me a little bit and it hurts me a little bit. And I said, yeah, darn it, I'm sorry. I never meant to intend to hurt you. Anyone that is easily distracted and such, that's not the point. And so I'm sorry. And so we hurt that group. Another one, Columbus Day Discovery Return Signal. As more and more information is coming out about Columbus and his crew, where the reasons to celebrate Columbus Day are less apparent right now. So we stopped doing that message. Ghost people. I had a minister's wife call me up and says, we don't refer to the people who have passed as ghosts. So don't do that again, Willie. And then lastly, and this was Buckle Up Pilgrim. This is a John Wayne quote. John Wayne is from Iowa, so we get a free pass on this. But since John Wayne is not from Minnesota, there's a bunch of people from Minnesota who took actually problem with this one, and it forced Minnesota to stop doing their message that day. So okay, we pushed the limit and we struck out a couple times.
So we might want to explain that we share our messages regionally, and us in Minnesota end up running the same messages more often than not.
That's right. But anybody that knows that has to basically sign a non-disclosure statement. And if you tell anybody that an Iowa message is running in Minnesota, yeah, you might get in trouble. We're part of the secret team of Minnesota DOT. It's a lot of fun.
That's right.
So, another risk is how do we measure the effectiveness of dynamic message, or our messages and stuff. And here's the last 6 years of seatbelt usage in Iowa. Although this last year was really good, but it's kind of up and down. It stays about the same, but it's still actually any movement of more than 2 or 0.3% is awesome, but it goes up and down. So we're not really having a true effect on seatbelts. So why are we doing this? Same way with fatalities. There's a general trend that's going down, but yet we did have this spike of 402. And so how do you measure its effectiveness? And so I do want to mention there were 2 recent studies that came out this last summer, late fall last summer, but they tell you 2 different things, which was very interesting. And one study was actually from a fellow Canadian up in the University of Toronto that basically they did a pretty good study that said crashes are actually higher in the 10 kilometers downstream from a dynamic message sign. In Texas is where they showed this. They studied a bunch of years. They had some pretty good data, and I'm not here to dispute or deny this particular study. I'm just here to say we haven't felt the same circumstances in Iowa. We haven't been told in Iowa that you have fatalities downstream of a dynamic message sign every Monday. So it's a little hard to, I guess, buy into this study when you don't experience it yourself. And so some of the things that we found different between this study and Iowa is that we do in Iowa, obviously we do a fatality and a safety message, whereas when this study was done, it was only the fatality message done. And they only looked at one state compared to all the other states doing this, so they kind of cherry picked the one data point. And we've never been blamed. And believe me, as much as and as small as the DOT as we are, and if somebody wanted to complain and say wasn't my fault, it was that darn sign, I would have heard about it. So I do encourage you to read it, because actually it's a good study, very passionate professor, you can tell, that dug into the data and was really used a lot of ways to justify their position on it. And I actually has made me want to look at our data and to a little bit closer. But on the other side is here, the University of Virginia Research Council. They actually they took all of our messages, a bunch of other states, and they put 300 people inside of a lab, and they put stuff on their head to measure neural waves, and then they flashed these messages on a screen and they measured brain activity. And in general, they showed that the brain reacted positively and it had a positive effect on how they viewed crashes, or how the message was effective or not. And in summary, that report said these messages are good. However, they didn't look at real crashes. It was just the perception that these messages are good. So you can kind of take whatever side you want. You can justify your what you want to say, I guess, with whatever study you want to use. So one of our pauses or policies is that if we do find a message that was slowing down or causing crashes, we would remove it. We do try to eliminate or reduce the length of a message. It is, the shorter the message, the better. It is absolutely true. Bigger is not necessarily better when it comes to reading a sign. Bigger font is good. Bigger long length of message, no. Setting the display time is an art. I usually look at don't just blindly call it 2.5 seconds and think that everyone can read your message in 2.5 seconds. Put some thought behind how many seconds you display each particular panel of the message. Our traffic management center does have permission to remove any message that it wants to if they think it's causing a problem. And again, back to my knowledge, there has not been a single crash blamed on one of our messages. And then so in the past though, we've had complaints. We're gonna get that in one of our complaints. And usually we find out that it's people who just don't like the message to begin with. And so they get into a particular situation and then they want to blame something and then they think, hey, I can blame the sign. And so this particular example I'm going to show you here is my favorite complaint. And it was about this message that said, don't make a hog squeal, look for bikes. And so this person, her name is D Large. That's exactly what her name was. I have no idea if it's real. But she shows, have you ever noticed that everyone all of a sudden slows down for this message every time, nearly causing accidents? And so we kind of said we responded, said, no, we don't see that. And other people I love it when the public joins in and defends a governmental agency. And so she's got about 3 or 4 or 5 different people that kind of question her statement. And one person says, hey, when are you seeing this? Because I'm not seeing this. And old D Large says, yeah, every day this problem happens from 7:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, keep in mind, our program is called Message Monday. And so you can't blame a delay of traffic on Thursday for a message that happened 3 days earlier on Monday. So yeah. So I've got, let's see, this is slide 21. Tracy, that's still me. So what if we're misunderstood?
It's all you, Willie. It's all you.
So there are chances that we could be misunderstood with our message. I mean, obviously this says don't be a buck. You're not in rut, watch for deer. I mean, I don't see how anybody could misinterpret that for anything. Or this one, this is actually Tennessee's. We got to give Tennessee credit for this one. I love it. Taxi and driving, oh, sell, no. And I don't know why that would be misinterpreted. Or, shift happens, especially in work zones. And if you're a work zone engineer, you know exactly that shift happens all the time. I have no idea why that would be misunderstood. Some of the other risks we get here are we get accused of advertising every once in a while. And this particular message was nip and pair driving in the bud, dilly dilly. And this is about 2 or 3 years ago when there was a certain message campaign out there in our air TV time. And the first thing I thought, somebody complained and they didn't like the nip it in the bud. And I was like, well, Barney, he says it all the time. That's his tagline. And actually, one of my coworkers said that. He said, Willie, this is not nip it in the bud. This is a Barney reference, isn't it? I go, well, kinda, but it's a lot of different references. And then so Federal Highway got involved and they called me up and says, Willie, your message is advertising. And I said, Paul, it's not. Because number one, in order to be accused of advertising, you need to take money for it, or getting paid or profiting from this by some monetary function. That's the key word of advertising. And we are doing neither. And so the Federal Highway guy said, well, fine, but you need to take it down. And I said, do you really want me to take it down? Because if I take it down at noon right now, it's going to become a story at the 6 o'clock news and then everyone's going to read it. Or how about if I take it down at midnight and I promise not to do it again? And he goes, okay, fine, take it down at midnight. So we missed that one. All right, this one's yours, Tracy.
Yeah, so we do a lot of pop culture stuff. And so Taylor Swift is world renowned for suing people. So we were a little afraid when we put this one up, but luckily we did not hear from her. So we were good, and other states picked this up all over too. This is a KISS reference, and they are also kind of a litigious bunch, but they tweeted back at us that they loved it. So we're good with KISS on that one. And then the last one is a Star Wars reference, and we've actually used Star Wars several different times. Anytime May the 4th hits, we're all over the Star Wars messages, and luckily we have not been sued by them yet either.
Willie and Tracy, I just wanted to make that we're just sort of running up on the time. So at the end of the webinar, so if we can sort of wrap up in the next couple of minutes, if you don't mind.
Yep, we're
Okay.
almost to the end. So changing the culture is really what we're after. So go ahead, Willie. We need this.
Yeah, so we get a lot of local media. We'll go through this. A lot of story papers, TV, Fox News, USA Today, national newspapers, Huffington Post, New York Times. We actually made the front page of the Wall Street Journal, which was kind of fun. Car and Driver, we got a nice little article in there over the summer, and lots of positive responses on what Tracy puts out on social media. And we do keep track of that if anyone's ever curious. We do have a Message Monday diary. It's like Omar said in the very beginning, it's spreading. We actually this is formerly a Facebook workplace post or thing where all 50 states have a representation on here, and we share messages this way. And if Canada wants to get in the middle of this, I don't know why you couldn't. We are switching to Teams here in the next couple of weeks, but we could join. And then we're going to kind of end it here a little bit. I do have a 1-minute video that Lester Holt did. They actually flew to Iowa and they did a story on us. So we'll kind of end on this. And I hope you can hear the audio. Can you hear the audio?
Nope, no audio.
No.
Oh, rats. Well,
if you can share with me Willie, if you have the link to the video, then that would be great. What we can do is we can share it with the audience when we send out the reminder that so the entire presentation and webinar will be actually made available on the ITS Canada website. So it's all been recorded, and hopefully at the end we'll be able to provide your contact information in case anybody wants to follow up and join the program. Listening to you guys in the presentation, I remember now why I so much enjoyed spend all the time I got to spend in Iowa, because you guys are a fun bunch to be able to work with, and all of these interesting messages and so forth. I think as I said at the beginning, the opportunity of promoting traffic information and traveler information, you don't often see a lot of public engagement, and the amount of media coverage that you guys have gotten, whether it's local or national, and the following you have purely on the messages that are being promoted on your DMS signs is really quite remarkable, I think. So
yeah, that's kind of what we say, is that you get people to talk about safety and they don't even know they're talking about safety. And so that, I mean, what other occurrence is talking about safety fun? and here we are. And so that's it. I'll end really with the final messages that didn't actually make the cut. And so if you want to stay around for 15 more seconds, you're going to see a couple that really just didn't. They were great ideas, but we didn't do it. So icy roads are for the birds, slow the flock down. Or we've upped our safety, so up yours too. Or practice safe text. Don't do it while driving. And then our boss, Steve Jett, came up with one. He loves to save the planet. Want to save the planet? Well, buckle up your anus.
Yeah, I think a few of those are pushing a bit of the limits there.
I know, and I hope to see that. We didn't actually do them, but they were the fun ones that just didn't, the clips that made it to the floor of the editing room, right?
Yeah, although that third one with some of the stories of people in Teslas of late, you have to wonder, and actually that may come to relevance now. So.
Yeah.
Perfect. So with that, I'd like to thank Kathleen, Jonathan, and Geoff Carter from IBI Group, as well as Willie and Tracy for their presentation. you know, I know with COVID and everything else, like I said, the opportunity of meeting and getting together with folks to talk about what's going on in the industry is tough. And the opportunity to do that here is so great. So thank you, everybody. As I said, the presentation or the webinar will be made available, and we'll share it, an announcement when it's posted on the ITS Canada website. So thank you so much, and look forward to hearing and seeing you guys next time. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.